Hello there everybody, Sam's Trains here and welcome back to the railway. I hope you're all having a great Christmas. Of course Christmas Day itself is only just around the corner. So I thought today it'd be great to review a loco that has that sort of festive look about it. And I did give a little hint about this during the LMS day, so if you haven't guessed already, here she is. There we go, it's the beautiful Princess Royal locomotive. This one's Princess Elizabeth. Now I have to apologise, this one's not in a box. I bought this one X-set off eBay. But it didn't come in the box, it just came in some bubble wrap, so unfortunately I can't unbox it, so I'm sorry to not have the massive surprise of unboxing her, but it does mean that we can get straight on with the review anyway. So let's get this beautiful Pacific up onto the white background, and I'll start by giving you some information. I know I've already done it in the running day, so I'll keep it brief, and then we'll do a little review, and then I'll get on with the part we all love, which is the running session. So okay, let's give it a try. And there she is then, up close and personal, a beautiful rendition by Hornby of Stania's Princess Royal class. And of course in real life there's nothing especially Christmassy about the class as far as I know. I've just chosen it today because of this beautiful deep maroon livery that she's in, and of course the gold trim. It just looks Christmassy, so I thought it would be the perfect one to do today. So anyway, on to a bit of information about her then. Now as I've said, you've probably heard this before if you've seen the running day, so if you have, I apologise, but I'll try not to drone on too long. So as I've just given away then, they were designed by William Stania, and the first ones were built during 1933. And they were the first four-cylinder simple Pacifics that Stania actually designed, so I suppose it's quite a milestone for him. They weren't very successful to begin with. The first two, Princess Royal and Princess Elizabeth, which is of course this one, were sort of prototypes, and they weren't particularly successful. They used a lot of coal and they weren't very efficient at all. But Stania came back, he designed a new boiler for them which was much more efficient, much larger apparently, and much better, and after they proved to be more successful, the main production run of 10 of these were built. And in real life, of the 10, 2 were preserved, and of course the rest were scrapped, which is as always a shame. But 2 is quite a good number, you know, more than one example, so not a bad thing at all. And this loco is really not bad at all. I mean, if you think about what you normally get in a Hornby set, which is of course what this came from, you're normally going to get models of a quality that is closer to the railroad range than the railways range. And if you consider this, the detail on this model is absolutely fantastic. I mean, even I struggle to believe that it really is from a set because it's just so detailed. I suppose a locomotive model like this can't help but be grand and elegant because of the size of it and because of the elegance of the livery and whatnot, but just look at the riveting, the moulded detail, and also the separately printed pieces, you know, the tiny little text. We've got the LMS badge there, which I can't even read because it's so small, and you've also got little warning signs, presumably, here and there, which again are very finely printed. And while the moulding is absolutely fantastic, you know, rivets and small pieces that have been moulded on, you've also got quite a lot of separately fitted parts. You've got the usual stuff, you've got a big, well, I think they're all safety valves, aren't they? You've got 4 of those on the top, which are copper or brass or whatever they use. And you've also got a separately fitted whistle, which is quite standard, I suppose. But you've also got very small lamp irons, the vacuum pipes fitted, you've got a tiny little handrail on the front of the boiler there, and all along the underside of the boiler there's various moulded and separately fitted parts, which really do make this look very realistic indeed. And if we turn it round, as you can see there, you've also got this very finely detailed reversing rod, as well as another, well, it's some sort of pipe which runs underneath the handrail, which is very interesting too. And again, it's great that Hornby don't leave these sorts of details out because, of course, in real life, that's the way they are. A particularly detailed area is just round here then, towards the front of the boiler where it turns from maroon to black. As you can see, there's pipes there which are moulded on, which are really quite realistic looking, I think, although they are just painted black. And just to the left of there you can see the wheel arches, which are painted with this beautiful golden trim, and also that golden trim does go all the way down the locomotive and onto the tender as well, which is gorgeous. Let's take a quick look at the side of the cab then. As you can see there, we've got 7P, and underneath there the running number, which is 6201, and that whole area is absolutely beautiful. You've got the glazed windows, you've got the riveting, and of course that golden trim which traces around the border of the cab, which is absolutely gorgeous. On the roof of the cab then, you've got quite a fair bit of riveting, as well as an air intake for the crew, which doesn't open, but it is sort of locked in an open position, which again is quite realistic. And of course on the front there you've also got the glazed windows too. Now unfortunately inside the cab, I'll give you a quick look, there isn't any painted detail, but as I say, for a model in a set that's not unusual, and elsewhere the model is a lot more detailed than you'd expect from a set. Let's head around to the front then and take a look at the front of the boiler. I know you've seen it a little bit already, but of course you've got the running number on the front there, 6201, and 5A under there, which I think Douglas said was to do with the shed number or something like that, where they were stored. Also on the front you've got a fairly realistic looking buffer beam with sprung buffers. Let's take a look at that, just in case you don't believe me. There we go. And of course those buffers are the quite large LMS buffers. But the buffer beam itself doesn't have any rivets on it. Perhaps that's prototypical, perhaps not. But it does have the yellow trim again, which is consistent with most of the locomotive. Let's take a quick look at the motion and the linkage then. Of course, this is the famous Walschaerts valve gear, which looks absolutely beautiful, as it often does on Pacifics. Of course, you'll see all this motion in action as soon as we get her running, but it is particularly elegant the way this one's been done. And of course, around the sort of steam chest, you've got quite a nice looking piston area. I'm sorry for my poor technical terms. But again, that yellow trim is added there, and you've also got the various rivets and such added onto there, which really does complement the rest of the colour scheme. Okay, well, generally then, it's a really well done locomotive. It's absolutely gorgeous, as you can tell. It's one of those that you just can't help but fall in love with. But before we get on to running her, let's take a look at the tender. The tender, once again, follows on the theme of the maroon livery with the yellow trim, and also the theme of having lots and lots of rivets. As you can see, it's really plastered with them. And of course, the LMS tenders in real life were quite riveted, weren't they? That's quite a usual sight. But the LMS printing is really nicely done. The font is just right, and look at the undercarriage under there. Just look at the paintwork on there, it's fantastic. Of course you've got all the moulded detail, and it mostly is moulded, there's not much separately fitted there. But it really is the paint job that looks absolutely fantastic. And in addition to that, you've got the various handrails and separately fitted parts, which normally on sort of lower quality models may be moulded, but in this case, as you can see, they are separately fitted, which is really nice. The coal on the top is alright, it's not too bad, it's a little bit out of scale, it's sort of got that railroad feel to it. Having said that, it isn't really that bad at all, and it's not too glossy, the texture really is quite nice. The back of the tender is also extremely impressive. You've got so much moulded detail, and no stone has been left unturned really in terms of the printed detail. You've got all sorts of stuff. I can't read most of it unfortunately with the naked eye, but as you can see it truly does look very impressive. And the buffer beam on the back here is also very well done with rivets and sprung buffers once again. So in general the whole thing really comes together very nicely, and I'm sure if I opened a set expecting a sort of railroad class model and found this model instead, I would be very pleased. So if the seller on eBay wasn't lying and this was from a set, which I think it was, I can't imagine which set, but truly I'll be very pleased with that. And for a sort of budget model, it really does a fantastic job. So hopefully you've had a good look at her then. We'll get her down onto the railway now with a reasonably large rake of LMS coaches, and we'll see how she performs. Okay, don't go anywhere, let's get on to it now. Okay, so there she is on the line then, looking absolutely beautiful, and for all intents and purposes she is a very good runner. But I have noticed with my example especially that running from cold she really is not very good at. She will be very jolty, and you know, she sometimes needs a little bit of a helping hand to get around, and sort of cleaning wheels, cleaning pickups doesn't seem to help that, whatever the weather, you know, in whatever state she's in, that always seems to be the case. So I don't know if that's the case with all of them, but it's certainly the case with mine. But all it means is you just have to let her have a warm up. So you help her along, get her going, have a 5-minute run with her, and after that she'll run perfectly all right. And she has had a little bit of a run before I started this review, so she probably will be all right mostly, but she might still be a little bit rough. Until we do that, so we'll get on to running her in just a second then. First I'll show you what she's going to be coupling up to. I've got a big mixture of LMS coaches, all sorts really. You'll see all that when it goes round. On the other line, I've made perhaps a little bit of a strange decision again, but I was thinking to run with the Princess Royal. I thought, well, I want another impressive locomotive, a really big one. And the one that came to mind immediately was the 9F, which is of course a very impressive locomotive. It's not LMS or really related to the Princess Royal in any way. In fact, it's not even a passenger locomotive. But I thought, in terms of size and performance, it is similar. So she's got a big rake of coaches as well. She's got the teaks and the Pullmans, so hopefully that will put on quite a show, and we'll get her going in just a second. But for now then, let's get the Princess Royal up and running, get her moving forwards and backwards gently, before a nice gentle coupling, hopefully. Okay, let's give that a try. So forwards then, to start with, just a little bit. Creeping forwards, not bad at all really, that's a reasonable crawl. Let's go back before she leaves the shot. Back again. Ooh, that's even more smooth. Right, well I'll try going forwards again at that sort of smooth speed then, so you can see what performer she is. But as you can see now that she's been warmed up, she really isn't a bad runner at all, you know, she runs very well indeed. Forwards again. There you go. That's a real good smooth performance, that is. Right, I'll budge the camera then, and we'll get her to do a coupling, hopefully. Nice and gently does it, of course. Steady. Right, has she got them? Yes, it appears so. Now this rake of coach is really borderline what she's capable of pulling, and as you can see she's having a bit of trouble starting off, so if I just help her along she should just do it. But let's see how many coaches we've got. We've got 2, 4, 6, 8 coaches, including a full brake and a male van at the end, as you can see. And let's get the 9F started as well then, shall we? And she's a Hornby example, obviously, and in real life and in model form they are absolute beasts, the 9Fs are, so hopefully you'll see then. Let's give her a little start up. I've not run her for a while on the channel, so I'm pleased to be able to do that. And she's got 1, 2, 3, 4, that's the Pullmans, and 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, that's the Teaks. So one more coach the 9F pulls. Having said that, she does do it with a lot less trouble than the Princess does, so perhaps the 9F could pull even more. But I don't want to be silly. I mean, it gets to a point where you've got too many coaches to manage. So hopefully that's a good number. And this is the incline just here, and as you can see the 9F doesn't really falter. And luckily the Princess is downhill just here, so she'll speed up if anything. Oh look, the 9F has slowed down, I beg your pardon. But not as much as the Princess might have done if she was on that side. The slope on this side of the room seems to be a bit more gradual. Doesn't seem to knock them for 6 quite so much on this side. So, yep, whatever the reason. And here's the 9F again. Really elegant. They don't look bad pulling coaches actually. Of course freight locomotives shouldn't really, but I suppose in real life they would have all had to pitch in and do whatever they had to. They're both very able pullers though, aren't they? I mean, that's quite an impressive rake on both. Oh, see, the 9F's train really slowed down for a second there. So I suppose you'll have to get back to me in the comments. What do you prefer, heavy freight or big elegant passenger locomotives? Okay, well everybody, I think that's just about it for the review of the Princess Royal, so I really hope you enjoyed seeing her. And of course I'll say now, I hope you all have a really great Christmas, and you open up lots of trains under the Christmas tree. That's the perfect Christmas for me anyway. But yeah, if you like the video, please don't hesitate to leave a like, because it's always great to know what sorts of videos you enjoy, and even which sorts you don't, if you feel you need to leave dislikes, but I'm easy, I don't mind. And of course you can leave comments as well if you'd like to tell me exactly what you like or disliked. So yep, that's all cool. But for now, please feel free to check out the Facebook and Twitter pages at facebook.com/samstrains and twitter.com/samstrains. But I think that's about all I've got, so Merry Christmas, hope you all have a good one, and I'll see you very soon. Cheers everybody.